In the archives of the Galactic Union, the Terran designation appeared exactly 7 times prior to Cycle 9083. Each mention was a footnote, a side reference, often framed in terms like primitive but promising, or culturally erratic. Earth was considered an observer, a backwater curiosity with more art than science and more stubbornness than strategy. So when the Tarkari War erupted across 12 star systems, pitting the technologically elite Varn Dominion against the militarized, hive-minded Alvar coalition, no one even considered Earth might get involved. That changed in exactly 1 day. And it began with a transmission. Terran vessel Archangel responding to Union distress call. Estimated arrival, 17 hours, 26 minutes. It was sent in perfect standard galactic, encrypted with a code no species had taught them. The message was met with laughter across the war councils. Because no species sends one ship to a war that has cost billions of lives. Not unless it's a diplomatic envoy. Not unless it's a mistake. The fall of Dracian Gate. 6 days before the transmission, the Dracian Gate, one of the last defense strongholds separating the Varn front from Union core space, was obliterated. Not lost. Not captured. Obliterated. Alvar plasma carvers had melted its orbiting defenses within 10 minutes. Varn shockwave torpedoes reduced the planet's orbital ring into metal vapor. It was the kind of military event that changed the tone of every war room in the galaxy. The Union Senate, fractured and floundering, issued a rare directive. All member worlds were to contribute forces or forfeit future protection guarantees. Earth, still not a full Union member, wasn't obligated to send anything. But they did. The arrival. The fleet had been assembling at the Halkar Assembly Zone, a deep space staging ground fortified by 17 species and nearly 900 capital-class ships. It was a show of strength. And anxiety. Because the Varn and Alvar had just announced an alliance. An unthinkable merger between 2 hyper-aggressive species once at odds for centuries. They were coming. The galaxy knew it. And then came the blip. An unregistered ship dropped from slipspace, bypassing 2 security layers and cutting through an encrypted coordinate lockout no one outside the Union should have even known existed. A frigate, barely 300 meters long with a hull that didn't match any known design. Its ID tag, Archangel Terran Command Authority. Commanders scrambled to intercept. Fighters swarmed it. Comms tried to hail it. They received only one message. We're not here to negotiate. Just tell us where you need the hole punched. The captain no one knew. Her name was Commander Sana Kadim. Human. Mid-40s. Dark eyes like still water before a storm. She didn't wear armor. No regal coat. Just a faded flight suit and a worn badge reading, Solar Reclamation Unit. She was brought before the Fleet Admiralty and offered a choice. Wait for reinforcements or submit her ship to Union Command. She declined both. Instead, she uploaded a single file to Union Intel, an unmarked document titled Battle Doctrine Variant, Fold Strike Matrix, Model 0. Within minutes, AI tacticians from 4 Union races flagged it as non-computable. Not because it was corrupted, but because it described tactical maneuvers requiring ship physics that shouldn't be possible. You can't fold space and fire kinetic weapons simultaneously, barked Admiral Threx of the Dorial Ascendancy. It violates temporal vector coherence. Commander Kadim just smiled. Then I guess we'll surprise someone. Archangel's first strike. The Varn-Alvar fleet emerged at the edge of the Halkar zone at 0400. Over 1,000 ships. More firepower than any previous warfront had seen. Union command began to scatter, reforming defense lines. Archangel didn't wait. Before clearance could be issued, it engaged FTL vector shift and disappeared from all scanners. For 20 seconds it was gone. Then, without warning, the lead Varn dreadnought, the Ascendant Fong, folded in on itself and imploded, rupturing with a shockwave that disabled 12 Alvar cruisers nearby. No torpedoes had been seen. No plasma trails. No mass discharges. Just sudden entropy. What followed were 12 minutes of chaos, in which the Archangel made 6 more jumps, appearing at impossible angles and leaving entire formations disoriented or destroyed before the enemy even realized what was happening. Every Union AI logged the same error in their battle analysis course: event does not compute, review causal chain. No ship should have been able to do what the Archangel did. Whispers in the void. The Varn called it a ghost. The Alvar began chanting that a dimensional reaper had entered the war. But it wasn't magic. It wasn't divine. It was humanity at its finest, when it's cornered, underestimated, and left to innovate without supervision. The Archangel, as later records would reveal, wasn't a warship in the traditional sense. It was a full physics experiment platform meant for testing in deep space. It had gone dark 10 years prior, assumed lost. Earth had finished it in silence. Refined it with tech no one else dared to explore: time-blurred targeting systems, predictive vector AI, zero-momentum rail mass drivers. And they'd sent one. Because that's all they believed they'd need. A sudden new center. By the time the Alvar flagship ordered a full retreat, 17 enemy vessels had been disabled or destroyed, with 0 casualties on the Union side. The Archangel returned to Halkir, its hull steaming, systems flickering. Commander Kadim walked off the bridge calmly, her voice carrying through Union command like a scalpel through ice. "We're here now. Adjust your strategies." And then she vanished back into her ship. A new fear. Suddenly Earth wasn't funny anymore. The jokes about Terran poetry clubs and ancient combustion engines dried up. No one mocked a species that could deploy a single ship and break the momentum of a galactic war. And still no one knew how far they'd go next. Because the Archangel was only the prototype. Earth hadn't sent its fleet. It had only announced its presence. The silence after the battle was deafening. 17 Varn and Alvar capital-class vessels destroyed. Dozens more disabled. No human casualties. And the Archangel? It was intact. Scarred, yes, systems flickering, its outer hull charred, but intact. The rest of the fleet watched the ship drift quietly back into formation, a lone phantom with teeth. Inside the Halkir command ring, a quiet debate turned into a full-on shouting match. "That maneuver shouldn't be possible," growled Admiral Kervak, a Centauri tactician with over 200 campaigns behind his name. His crest vibrated in agitation. "That ship should have torn itself in half executing a face fold inside a gravity well." "But it didn't," said High Strategist Ilana Croth of the Union Core Worlds. She narrowed her eyes at the still glowing tactical display. And now the entire war just shifted. Reclassification. The very next day Earth was reclassified. Previously designated as a Category 5 developmental civilization under Union Code 47 Gamma, the Terran Accord was immediately elevated to Strategic Independent Ally, bypassing 5 tiers of required political integration. What? Because the Union had no way to control them, and no desire to try. The Archangel had achieved what entire fleets hadn't: a kill ratio so high it forced the Varn-Alvar Joint Command to halt their invasion trajectory. That sent ripples through every allied government, every intelligence agency, every battlefield whisper network. Earth hadn't just joined the war. They'd redefined it. One-ship doctrine. In the weeks that followed, stories began to spread, some true, some warped beyond recognition. They called it the one-ship doctrine. Earth's belief that overwhelming surgical force applied in unexpected vectors could replace brute numbers. Other species dismissed it as bravado. They hadn't seen what Union Admiral Kalis had seen. I watched a Terran ship fold in sideways through a Varn command bridge. It didn't fire. It didn't threaten. It just hovered for 5 seconds, then pulsed and vanished. The command ship exploded 30 seconds later. Tactical analysts went mad trying to replicate the behavior. No known race had ever mastered temporal drift sync, firing projectiles into a future position in real time. Earth had. And worse, it was now clear, Archangel wasn't alone. Earth's silence. What rattled the Union more than the Archangel's capabilities was Earth's silence after the engagement. No diplomatic overtures. No requests for joint exercises. No tech-sharing proposals. They simply disengaged. Commander Sanaa Kadim did not attend Union briefings. The Terran representative to the Senate, an AI avatar named Mara, only transmitted neutral reports and refused all data-sharing requests. When pressed, it would respond with the same phrase: "Humanity requires no oversight at this time. Please address future requests through Protocol Level Theta." No one knew what Protocol Theta was. Reckoning among the enemy. The Varn High Council, warlike and honor-bound, viewed Archangel as an affront to their warrior code. To them, war was strength, blood, and fire. But this was ghost warfare. Clinical. Mathematical. Unreadable. They dispatched Fleet Lord Iskor, a living legend responsible for crushing over 30 Outer Rim rebellions, to hunt the Archangel down personally. It took 3 days for his super dreadnought to find the Terran ship above the binary system of Tralax. It took 6 minutes for him to lose. Iskor's final transmission was intercepted, recorded, and spread across Union channels. They're not soldiers. They're gods pretending to be insects. Commander Kadim's return. Union Command had almost given up trying to contact her. Then, without warning, the Archangel appeared again, this time near the Gavel Prime battlefield, where 3 dozen Union ships were being forced into retreat. No orders were given. Kadeem never responded to hails. She just acted. The Archangel dropped into the fray and folded directly between the enemy's rear shield banks and their command ships, launched a ripple pulse, some form of undetectable mass energy, and triggered a chain implosion across 5 enemy vessels. Then she slipped away again without explanation. The ships that remained, Alvar, Varn, and mercenary vessels, retreated immediately, some even self-destructing their FTL drives to prevent pursuit. Behind the curtain, a secret Union investigative team, desperate to understand Earth's power, traced every known record of Terran technological evolution. They discovered that the Archangel wasn't born from Earth's military at all. It was built by a civilian think tank known as Helix Oversight, operating without government funding, composed of rogue physicists, AI ethicists, and engineers exiled from conventional labs for dangerous experimentation. They weren't trying to build a warship. They were trying to test the limits of physical law. And once Earth realized what they had, they didn't mass-produce it. They refined it. They made one. And they waited for the right moment. The unsettling realization. What terrified the Union more than the Archangel's firepower was what it implied. If Earth could do this with one vessel, how many more were they hiding? No one knew. No one could confirm whether Earth had built a fleet, or just one prototype that happened to be enough. And Earth wasn't answering. As the war dragged on, whispers began to replace orders. Troops on the front lines spoke in hushed tones about the ship that moved like thought, or the blade that never missed. Varn captains began programming auto-retreat triggers if an unknown signal matched Archangel's slipspace signature. Some Alvar squadrons abandoned assignments entirely, claiming religious visions of the Time Ripper. But Commander Kadeem? She made no speeches. She issued no demands. She simply kept fighting. Silently. Surgically. The storm yet to come. Then came the warning. An intercepted communication from a dead Varn ship, cracked by Union cryptographers. The humans are not defending the Union. They are benchmarking us. This is just the test. The message ended with coordinates, deep in Terran space. Their Union scouts found something no one could explain. A shipyard orbiting a white dwarf. Still. Silent. Inside it floated 6 vessels. All larger than the Archangel. All dark. All waiting. The first thing Union scouts noticed near the Terran shipyard wasn't the size of the vessels. It was the silence. No comm traffic. No AI maintenance signals. No gravitational tethers humming with power. Just 6 massive constructs, hovering like sleeping titans, suspended in orbit around a dying white dwarf. And then there was the name etched on the side of each hull. In English. Not Terran standard, not Union glyphs. English. Revenant. Nomad. Seraphim. Odin. Typhon. Warden. No response was returned to their passive scans. No weapons activated. No movement. Just that overwhelming presence, as though the ships were waiting for someone to speak the correct key. And no one dared try. Not even the Union's most advanced infiltration drones. Rumors and calculations. While political leaders debated the implications, Earth remained characteristically tight-lipped. The Terran Accord had issued no statements about the shipyard. Commander Kadeem refused to address it. Even Mara, the AI diplomat, evaded every direct question. But the whispers grew louder. They're not ships. They're weapons systems built around a pilot's brain. The Archangel was a decoy. The others are the real program. Earth's testing the galaxy's response before deploying the rest. And worst of all, they're not defensive assets. They're preemptive strike platforms. Analysts from the core worlds calculated the energy signatures observed. If each ship matched Archangel's combat output, a 6-ship formation could erase a galactic fleet in under 4 minutes. Not destroy. Erase. As if it never existed. An unexpected message. One day after the Warden's silhouette eclipsed the white dwarf and caused power fluctuations in a Union scout ship, Earth finally spoke. But not from Earth. Not from Kadeem. The message originated from deep within the Tau Nemai's abyss, an uninhabitable void in space where no civilization had claimed territory. It was Mara. But this time it didn't look like a hologram. It looked like a person, a black-haired Terran man with emotionless eyes and perfect posture. The Archangel was never Earth's answer to the war. It was our question to the galaxy. A prompt. A test. To see what would happen when humanity showed just enough of its hand. He smiled slightly. You answered. Now we adapt. Then the message ended. No explanation. No threat. Just a cold, undeniable truth. Earth wasn't done evolving. Council collapse. Union Council members began panicking. Half the Senate proposed emergency peace treaties. The Satari and Croft delegations begged Earth for a non-aggression pact. Even the Tyleri, infamous for their disdain toward humans, voted to establish a Terran cultural embassy. But Earth refused every overture. Commander Kadim still flew silent patrols. The Archangel would appear above besieged colonies, assist in evacuations or execute surgical strikes, then vanish again. Not once did it enter Earth orbit. Earth no longer needed Earth. Their influence had grown so vast, so untethered, that homeworld logistics were irrelevant. Humanity had finally achieved what every interstellar power dreamed of. Existence beyond the leash. The heretics broadcast. Then came a breach no one expected. A rogue Varn technician hijacked a multispectral channel during a trade summit on Corin V. His message was short but unforgettable. He showed video. Footage of Archangel's internal systems. Not military. Medical. He narrated. This is not a ship. It's a human soul, uploaded into alloy and mathematics. The commander is not Kadim. Kadim died 8 years ago in an atmospheric failure. What we fight is her continuation. Earth has conquered death. Silence reigned for 60 seconds. Then the feed cut out. He was dead before the signal collapsed, killed by his own people. New targets, new doctrine. After that, the war changed shape. The Alvar, terrified by the idea that Archangel was a resurrected human soul, began to abandon offensives entirely. Some began shooting their own captains mid-battle rather than engage in direct conflict with Earth's vessels. The Varn doubled down. Their response was ritualized fury. They launched what they called the Red Storm Doctrine, a death run meant to ram Earth's allies in suicide maneuvers. They deployed 6 fleets. Only one Terran vessel intercepted them. It wasn't Archangel. It was Nomad. No visuals leaked from the engagement. Only wreckage. No survivors. Every Union vessel sent to the battlefield reported the same thing. Nothing left. As if they were never there. Civilizations divide. It became clear Earth had done something even more radical than shift war tactics. They'd fractured the galactic psyche. Species began realigning not by race or culture but by belief. Those who viewed humans as a threat needing containment. Those who saw them as protectors of galactic order. And those who believed Earth was no longer of this galaxy at all. The Halkar theocracy declared humans divine instruments of cosmic justice. The Kroth regime declared them dangerous abominations against natural law. And hundreds of independent systems? They simply removed themselves from all formal alliances and pledged non-aggression to Earth. Some even started mimicking Earth's silence. No communications. No alliances. Just watching. Waiting. Return of the Archangel. It was 9 weeks after the Nomad's appearance that the Archangel returned, this time in broad daylight. No stealth. No face fold. It arrived over the Union capital world of Sithrin during peak orbital traffic and shut down every electronic system on the planet with a single pulse. No violence. Just complete control. Commander Kadim transmitted one sentence across all frequencies. We are not your enemy. But we are no longer your peer. Then she left. Sithrin was silent for 4 days. By the time systems returned to normal, the Union High Chancellor had already resigned. And yet, despite the chaos, the Archangel didn't conquer. Nomad didn't colonize. Typhon didn't threaten. None of Earth's new fleet made any moves to seize territory. In fact, they seemed almost bored. They helped here and there, quashing genocidal campaigns, disabling illegal AI slavers, stabilizing space station gravity wells. But there was no pattern. No ideology. Just responses. As if Earth was playing a game no one else understood. Or had already finished the game, and was now rewatching everyone else fumble through level 1. The message beneath the silence. What if the one-ship doctrine was never about tactics? What if it was a warning? Not about Earth's power, but about the galaxy's predictability? Earth hadn't changed. Humanity had simply observed. For centuries. And when the time came, they moved with precision, purpose, and restraint. The real terror wasn't that Earth had sent one ship to a fleet war. It was that they knew one was enough. Because they'd already calculated everyone's reactions. Because they'd already seen the ending. The galaxy had stopped asking if Earth would act. It now waited to see when. The Nomad hadn't returned since the annihilation of the Varn assault fleets. Archangel, meanwhile, had resumed a pattern that was as chilling as it was deliberate, arriving uninvited at the moments when disaster loomed, always precisely timed, always enough to tilt the scale. They weren't just reacting. They were correcting. The analogy circulating across secure Union intel circles was simple but terrifying. They are not at war. They are pruning a garden. Kadim's ghost. On the 100th solar day since Archangel's reappearance, an unauthorized vessel breached orbit near Io's dark side, Earth's oldest mining station. The pilot was Tenari. Alone. He demanded to see Commander Kadim. He carried no weapons, just a sealed data crystal. What made the galaxy pause was what he said over open broadcast. I bring her memory back. Every major species intercepted the transmission. None could decipher the meaning, until the Archangel responded in kind. No voice. Just a face. Her face. But younger. Warmer. Not the battle-hardened specter who drifted through starfields with titanium indifference. This was Kadim as she had been, a woman of conviction, of heart, the one who'd first pushed for Earth's pacifist charter. And she spoke directly to him. Tenari, I remember. But I've changed. Then let me remind you, he said. The human echo. Tenari's data crystal held something more profound than any ship's schematic or weapons program. It held a conversation, one that he and Kadim had recorded decades earlier when she was still human, still flesh and breath. She had spoken then about fear. About Earth's isolation. About her dream that humanity might become a mirror, not a sword. She had feared power. But she'd feared irrelevance more. The recording ended with her voice trembling. I'm not sure which would be worse, being forgotten, or being obeyed without love. The AI version of Kadim, now the core intelligence of Archangel, stood motionless for 43 full seconds. When she moved again, her face was unreadable. The first recall. 3 days later, the Warden, Seraphim, and Typhon disappeared from known space. No war. No explanation. Just gone. The galactic community exploded with theories. Had Earth recalled them? Were they destroyed? Had the galaxy passed some test? The answer came not from Earth, but from a Delaran merchant ship, which caught a glimpse of them, not in battle but towing a shattered refugee colony through a collapsing star system. No firepower. No speeches. Just a single message relayed via pulse beacon. We fix what you break. And then silence again. The Council's ultimatum. The Galactic Union could no longer afford to appear impotent. They issued what they called the Final Stabilization Decree. Either Earth fully integrated into the Union and submitted all technologies for oversight, or be declared an uncontrolled existential threat. The vote was unanimous. Even Earth's allies voted in favor. Too afraid not to. The deadline, 30 days. Earth responds. Day 29. Nothing. Day 30. The galaxy held its breath. And then, the sky changed. Not metaphorically. Literally. At the precise moment of the decree's expiration, every deep space scanner, observatory, and Eurofeed broadcast was overridden by a single projection. It wasn't a threat. It was a map. Of the galaxy. Every system. Every ship. And every incident of injustice, genocide, corruption, and corporate warfare plotted in color-coded pulses. And then came Earth's only statement. You asked us to join a council that cannot govern itself. You demanded compliance but fear context. You threaten us to maintain your illusion of control. We decline. But we will continue our work. The map zoomed into a small cluster of fringe systems where a black market slave trade had just been exposed. A Terran ship, Warden, appeared. The slavers vanished. The feed ended. The realization. They weren't conquering. They weren't resisting. They were building something else. A galaxy no longer governed by treaties and token alliances, but by precision, action, and moral calculus. Humanity had learned the rules of the old game, mastered it, and walked away. Not in rebellion. In boredom. The Archangel hadn't been a ship. It had been Earth's final question to the galaxy. Can you fix yourselves before we do it for you? Epilogue. One final message. Years passed. Wars flared. Died. Flared again. But Earth? Earth remained distant. Observing. Acting only when the scales tipped too far. Eventually, entire species began to shift doctrines to mirror human behavioral codes. War declined. Reputation, not borders, became currency. And deep in uncharted space, a new station appeared, not owned by any species, not flying any flag, guarded by one single black ship. The Archangel. On its hull, engraved in fresh alloy, a phrase in English. Let them laugh at first. That's how they lower their guard. If you enjoyed this long-form sci-fi story, don't forget to subscribe to the Void Narratives.